let's haul some books. So it is time yet again for another book haul because apparently I have zero self-control. It is the end of October. It's about to be November. I'm drinking a cider because it is that time of year and I'm very happy about that. And I figured why not make this book haul even more special by enjoying a drink while I show you all of the books that I have hauled recently, which is way too many. Welcome back to my channel. I'm Hannah Blackwell and today I'm going to be hauling a whole bunch of books. If you have not already subscribed to my channel, I would love for you to do so. Please click the like button if you like book hauls and comment down below and let me know what was the most recent book that you have hauled recently. I would love to hear from you. All of my social media is linked down below, including my Goodreads, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. Make sure to click the notification bell if you want to be notified every time I post new content. So today I have way too many books. I don't know what got into me. I think it was all of the excitement about Once Upon a Readathon. If you have not already signed up for Once Upon a Readathon, you should definitely do so. I have 16 amazing co-hosts that are joining me in this readathon, and we are reading a whole bunch of awesome books. This readathon is all inspired by retellings. That includes like folklore, fairy tale, myth retellings. You don't have to read retellings to participate in this readathon because I made it super mood reader friendly because I am a mood reader myself. My TBR has already changed actually, basically since I posted my TBR video. If you want to know what is on my TBR for November, I'll have my video linked down below, but I'll already say I think it's changed a little bit. It's already changed just a little bit, just a wee bit. But I'm just gonna go ahead and get into this video. I don't know how many books are here, but I know it's way too many. So let's just go ahead and do this. I'm going to start out with my ultimate glory. A little bit of backstory. When I was younger, quite younger, I was a child, I saved up all of my allowance for months to buy this book for, I think, $80. And I lost it in a divorce because that's the kind of thing that happens. And so it's been weighing on me for years now that I have lost my favorite copy of this book. And it's usually $200 to $300 if you find it used, at least. I've seen it for more expensive, and I found an amazing deal on this book. It was still extremely expensive, but I bought it for myself to congratulate myself on hitting 500 subscribers for my channel, and it was a huge accomplishment, so I figured I would go ahead and treat myself. And that was Lord of the Rings, and this is the original Barnes & Noble edition that came out back when the movies were coming out. It's a beautiful, beautiful edition. It comes in the slipcase and it has all of this amazing detail on it. And it's out of print now, but it is really pretty. It's got the maps, and it's also got this huge map in the back that actually folds out. I'm not going to open it because it's kind of sensitive, but it is beautiful. And it's just, yeah, it was my pride and joy, and I worked so hard to buy this book as a kid, and so it meant so much for me to get a copy back of it. No, it's not the actual copy that I bought, but it's the same thing, and like I said, it is, yeah, this is my new pride and joy, and I'm very, very, very excited to have this again. The next book that I bought was Into the Drowning Deep by Meyer Grant. This is a pen name for Shannon McGuire. This has been one of my favorite horror books that I've read this year, probably one of my favorite horror books of all time. It's like a science fiction horror about this crew that goes and researches mermaids and find out that they ain't so friendly, and it's really scary, really spooky, science heavy for sure, but I really, really enjoyed this one. I just had to own a copy. I want to own a copy of every book that I've given 5 stars. That's just what I want to do. And this is definitely a book that I do know that I want to reread at some point. So I definitely wanted to have a copy of this, and I'm really excited for it. If you haven't already read this, definitely do so. I think it's a great book to actually read in the fall, but really any time of year or even in summer. I read this in summer and it was really fun because it is like a water feature horror book, and yeah, definitely a favorite of mine. The next book I bought for Once Upon a Readathon, and I accidentally totally miffed up when I did this, and I bought For the Throne instead of For the Wolf. This is the second book in this duology. I meant to buy For the Wolf, so now I still have to buy For the Wolf, but now I guess I own the sequel. This is a retelling. I think it's like a Beauty and the Beast slash Red Riding Hood retelling. Basically, there's these two princesses, I believe, and one is meant for the wolf in the woods and one is meant for the throne. And that's really all I know about this. I've heard some wonderful things and I think it's right up my alley. Next, I bought another 5-star. Well, actually, I think I gave it 4 stars originally, but really it's a 5-star. I need to update that if I haven't updated it on Goodreads, but I've read it twice already. One of my favorite romances of all time, and that is Desperate Measures by Katie Robert. This is her new cover that she's come out with. She has new hardcover artwork for this series now, and this is the retelling for Jasmine and Jafar. This is her Wicked Villains series, in which she basically makes a happily ever after for the villains in those Disney stories. For this, it's actually not a fantasy book. This is more like a mafia book type of like kind of crime lords type of series set in what's like the real world, but this is actually connected to a few other of her series, including her Dark Olympus series. They're just 2 different cities, but there are ways that these series connect. I think that these also connect with her Sabine Valley series as well. I wanted to point out too, if I ever recommend a romance, just check trigger warnings, because I often like dark romances that incorporate lots of triggers. Desperate Measures is one of those. It's not for everyone for sure. It's a dark romance that includes a lot of like CNC, like consensual non-consent, dubious consent, and so definitely check that out. Another one that I picked up recently is The Ex-Hex by Erin Sterling. I got this from Book of the Month, and this is a book that I had as an add-on for my Book of the Month, I think in October, because this is a witchy rom-com that I really want to read. This was on my witchy books TBR. I'll have that linked down below, but this is one of the books that I really wanted to read that was like a witchy book that I thought would be perfect for fall or any time of the year, because I really like witchy books. But this is more like rom-com, and we have this witch that basically things go awry when she curses her ex, I believe, and it is like a second chance romance between the two of them, I think. And I heard some mixed reviews on this, but the synopsis was so cool that I have to check it out. The next is a book that I cannot wait to read in November. This was on my November TBR, and that is Daughter of the Moon Goddess by Sulin Tan. I've heard nothing but amazing things about this book. This is a Chinese myth retelling about the daughter of this moon goddess who is basically supposed to be kept secret. No one's supposed to know that she exists. And fantasy romance adventure ensues, and I just am obsessed with this cover. I think this is the UK cover. And I've heard really great things, and I want to try more retellings that are from like all over the world, not just European inspired. And there have been, especially recently, like a lot of really good like Asian and like Middle Eastern retellings that I really want to try out, and this is definitely one of those. And I think this might be YA, but more like an older YA. I could be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure it's either a younger side of adult or like an older young adult book. So looking forward to checking it out. I'm not usually a big fan of young adult books, but I do enjoy them if they're like on the older end. Next, I have a Dowry of Blood by S.T. Gibson. This is a Dracula retelling from the POV of one of Dracula's wives. And I think it's told like in epistolary format, possibly with like letters, but I'm not positive. Don't quote me on that. I really don't know much about this. I know that this is a lot of Booktubers' favorites. I think Riley Marie really enjoyed this one, and I've heard good things from both fantasy spectrum, horror spectrum, and romance spectrum Booktubers. So basically all over Booktube, I've heard wonderful things about this. It's not a long book. I think I did put this on my November TBR, and I don't think it's going to be too much to get through. I mean, it's short. I think it's like less than 250 pages. It's under 300 pages though, quite short. And this is the new cover. This was possibly self-published or indie published first, but it was picked up, and this is the new cover for it. And actually, a lot of people prefer the original cover for this book, but I really like the new cover. So just personal preference. I like this newer cover, and I'm looking forward to picking this one up. Yet another retelling. This was my Book of the Month pick for October, and that's Thistlefoot by Jenna Rose Nethercott. I think that I'm pronouncing that correctly. I hope so. This is a Baba Yaga retelling about Baba Yaga in her house, which is on chicken legs, but it's adult. I've really wanted to read The House with Chicken Legs, and that's a middle grade story, and I don't know. What would you guys think about me doing a vlog where I read The House with Chicken Legs and then I also read Thistlefoot and kind of compare the middle grade retelling with the adult retelling? That might be something that's kind of fun. But that's really all I know about this. It's a Baba Yaga retelling, and that it looks fun, whimsical. I think that they said it was for fans of Neil Gaiman, and I'm definitely a fan of Neil Gaiman. I'm not seeing that here, so I could have totally made that one up. I have another book here that has been a huge hit for a lot of booktubers, and a miss for some, but that's Middle Game by Shauna Maguire. I have really enjoyed everything I've read by Shauna Maguire and or her pen names before, and I really want to read this. All I know about it is about these twins who are possibly gods of some sort. Yeah, Roger and Dodger, and involves alchemy and magic. That's all I know. But I've heard wonderful things about it, and I've really enjoyed Shauna Maguire in the past, so I definitely want to read more from her. I've heard about this book from a few different booktubers, including Katrina Reeds, and I'll have her link down below, but that's where I most recently heard about it. I heard about it once before, but this is Dark Harvest by Norman Partridge. I adore the cover to this book. That is creepy, and it gives me all the fall feels, and it looks like it's going to be horrific in a whimsical way based on the cover. Do I know if that's true? No. It's set on Halloween, which is pretty cool. It says they call him October Boy or Ol Hacksaw Face. Okay, that sounds creepy. Or Sawtooth Jack. Whatever the name, everybody in this small Midwestern town knows who he is and how he rises from the cornfields every Halloween, a bloody butcher knife in his hand, and makes his way toward town where gangs of teenage boys eagerly await their chance to confront the legendary nightmare. That sounds really scary. It's also a novella. It's under 200 pages. I've had amazing luck with spooky, like, horror novellas. I've never given one 5 stars yet, so I'm still looking for my 5-star horror novella. Maybe this one will be it. The second book I got from Book of the Month for October was Catherine Steadman's The Family Game, and this is like possibly like rich people games. Does it involve? Yeah. A rich, eccentric family, a time-honored tradition, a lethal game of survival. That sounds right up my alley. I'm not going to read the rest of the synopsis. This sounds like tons of fun. I think it's going to be a really fun thriller. I love some rich people drama, you know, and I think that this is going to be a good one. And that's a big house. Yeah, so I think this will be fun. I have another thriller here, and that is Mary Kabika's Local Woman Missing. I remember watching Books with Lala read this last year and really wanting to read it. Something about it really sounded interesting to me. We have basically multiple stories of women going missing, and we get multiple perspectives. I think that you get the perspective of someone who's gone missing. I don't know. I think it's like a domestic thriller involving missing women, and I've never read anything by Mary Kabika before, but I just remember something about the way that Books and Lala described this book stuck with me, and I've wanted to read it ever since. Next, I have another mystery, but this is more like in the cozy mystery genre. Riley Marie and Books and Lala really enjoyed this. I think that Olivia Reads a Latte enjoys this book as well, and this whole series. It's A Curious Beginning. This is the first book in the Veronica Speedwell mystery series, and I think that this incorporates a little bit of romance too. This is like a Victorian era cozy mystery with some romance elements. Sign me up. That sounds like the best time. I want to read this in cold weather, like curl up in a blanket and read this book. This sounds like the perfect cozy book for me. I really hope this video is not forever. I've gone through I've gone through 13 books so far. I think I'm about halfway through, so I'm hoping I can keep this video under 30 minutes. Okay, A Touch of Light by Theo Abdallah. The second book in this series just got its cover reveal, and I have wanted to read this since I saw it coming up on SFFBO Awards. It's a finalist, I believe, and ever since I saw the cover, the gorgeous orange tree, and heard that there are griffins in this series, I wanted to read it. Theo is also really sweet. He is very active with the Booktube community, and so I definitely want to support him where I can. And so I really do hope I enjoy this one. I will let you know how I feel about it. I don't think I'm going to be able to fit it in November, even though I really wanted to. I think it's going to be a December read for me. We'll see. I hope you guys are okay with like very minimal, there's not minimal synopsis, no synopsis. There's no synopsis happening, I feel like, for these books. But like, I don't know much going into books, and I generally I'm not a synopsis reader. So next I have Sea of Ruin by Pam Godwin. I have never read Pam Godwin before, but I hear great things. I also own Dark Notes in ebook format. I want to read that as well, but this is a pirate romance, and I think it is either male-female-male or male-male-female. I'm not sure, but I think there's multiple partners in this. And it's a very dark romance. Kaylee from Kaylee's Books just read this and adored it. Riley Marie also, it's one of her favorite historical romances or dark romances as well. So I've heard nothing but great things, though I have heard it's super dark, so make sure you check trigger warnings. I know that there's one scene in particular that's quite hard to read in this book, so definitely check that out if you are someone who needs to look up trigger warnings. But the cover is gorgeous, and I love pirate romances, and I want to read more of them. So this is one that I definitely want to get to probably in the spring, I'm guessing, because that's when I start really wanting to read a lot of water, books set on the water. And so that's probably when I'll get to this, is spring. I'm going to try to go through the rest of the fantasy books. There's only a couple left, I think, before I get to the rest of my romance books. So the last epic fantasy that I have is Wrath by John Gwynne. This is the fourth book in the Faithful and the Fallen series. I have really enjoyed this series. I just finished Ruin, and I gave it 5 stars. That was probably one of the best epic fantasy books I've ever read. It was amazing, and I cannot wait to pick up Wrath. It will probably be in December if I can fit that in. I have some epic fantasy read-alongs coming up that have not yet been announced. Keep an eye out. And I have a few other books too that I'm trying to fit into December. Lots of series I'm trying to finish up or continue on, but it'd be super amazing to be able to finish The Faithful and the Fallen before the end of 2022. That would be amazing. I actually have 2 graphic novels, and that's the Monstrous series. This is volume 2 and 3. I read the first volume a long time ago. Not long, but I believe it was a year ago. I think it was a year ago. I really liked it. I need to reread it before I continue on, but I want to continue on, so I figured might as well go ahead and at least pick up a couple volumes so that I can do it in consecutive order, close together, because I feel like that's probably the best way to read these books. What I'll probably do, so there's no spoilers, I will just show you the beginning part of the first volume so you can see how cool the artwork is. It's creepy. Really cool. Horrific fantasy. I think it's technically in this newer kind of genre or style considered silk punk. I believe that the Dandelion Dynasty is also considered silk punk as well, and it's pretty freaking cool. I'm really liking it, and I am hauling the second and third. Getting into some romance, but this is fantasy romance. I just picked up A Court of Thorns and Roses. Yes, I've already read it, but if you haven't ever noticed looking at my bookshelves, you can kind of see over there, I own all of the books in the series except for the first one because I actually originally read it in ebook format. So I wanted to, now I'm all jacked up. So I really wanted to actually own a physical copy of this book. Eventually I want to reread the series. So I figured I should pick up a physical copy of it. Really liked it. This is a Beauty and the Beast retelling. If you are looking for a Beauty and the Beast retelling for Once Upon a Readathon, this is a great one to pick up. It actually includes, this actually will cover you for all of the prompts for the first step except for the hard mode. So you can get 300 points just by reading this one if you are interested. Another fantasy romance that I picked up was Radiant by Grace Draven. I think that this is actually a Beauty and the Beast retelling as well. And I've heard that this is one of her best books. I've heard nothing but great things about this. I've tried reading Grace Draven before, but I wasn't really knowing what to expect. Now I know to expect like a slow burn, dark fantasy romance, and I just wasn't going into it with those expectations. I'm definitely looking forward to picking this one up. It is, like I said, Beauty and the Beast retelling that has gotten rave reviews from a lot of fantasy romance lovers. Also picked up another Beauty and the Beast retelling by Grace Draven, and that was Entreat Me. And this has also been one of Grace Draven's most loved books. I'm thinking about doing a Beauty and the Beast retelling vlog for Once Upon a Readathon. Let me know if that's something that you might be interested in. I have a few Beauty and the Beast retellings on my TBR, so I figured might as well. And Beauty and the Beast retellings happen to be my favorite retellings, at least so far. And this one I hear is really good, and the cover is gorgeous. It gives those Beauty and the Beast vibes for sure. In a different vein, this is a contemporary romance, and this is a sapphic romance as well. This is Delilah Green Doesn't Care by Ashley Herring Blake. Everyone and their mom has been talking about this book, and I want to read it. I love sapphic romances. I'm not usually a huge fan of contemporary romances, but I do like to add a few to my TBR in spring and summer. And this is one that I knew I really wanted to pick up. I think the new book just came out or is about to come out for this series. I think it's called like Astrid Parker Doesn't something. I don't know. But I want to pick this one up. I've heard wonderful things about it, and I love a sapphic romance, and I want to support more sapphic romances being written. 21 books so far. 7 to go. 28 books. Okay. I need to not be buying so many books. Someone control me, though. Like, I tell my husband that all the time. He's like, you know, there's no controlling you. Like, I can't do that. Like, how am I supposed to do that? I'm unstoppable. Let's talk about some historical romances before we finish out with more fantasy romance. Okay. I have Never Seduce a Scot by Maya Banks. This has our female character who is deaf, but at the time people don't know she's deaf. They think she's basically not very smart. And she is sent off to get married to this Scottish warrior who is like the head of a rival clan or something like that. She's sent off to marry him, and he realizes that it's not that she's not very smart. He realizes that no, she just can't hear, and it's their love story. And I hear an extremely sweet one. I hear it's very sweet. There is periods where like she's taking care of him and he's taking care of her in other periods, and I love that trope in a historical romance especially. And I've heard that this book is very good. It's a lot of people's favorites. So when I've talked to a few people on Riley Marie's Discord for her Patreon, a lot of people recommended me this book, so I went ahead and picked myself up a copy. I also picked up Lorraine Heath's Scoundrel of My Heart. I've not read Lorraine Heath, but I've been hearing her name about a lot recently. I don't know why, but I figured I should find out. And I've heard that this book is good. I don't know anything about it other than it is in the Once Upon a Dukedom series. So if something comes up and I don't want to read Once Upon a Dream by Sierra Simone, which is the book that is currently on my TBR for Once Upon a Readathon, and I still want to pick up that hard mode for doing 2+ words once upon a or time, I can read this book because the series is called Once Upon a Dukedom. And so it is another option for picking up that hard mode. Finally, I have Beverly Jenkins' Destiny's Embrace. This is a series that I've been wanting to read for a really long time. Kind of upset because I bought a brand new copy and it got water damage. And I don't know how that happened because that package itself was not water damaged. Anyway, I don't know. So I might exchange it. I don't know. But I really want to read this. This is a historical romance set in America on a ranch, I believe. This is like a Western ranch historical romance, and it sounds very good. And I've heard this whole series is top notch. 2 more books by Katie Robert. One is one that I've already read, and that's The Dragon's Bride. And this is a monster romance. And this whole series, basically we have these women who have signed up to be sold off to marry or stay with for a certain period of time, these monsters, and they're auctioned off, but voluntarily. And so our main character in this book, Briar Rose, is married off to this dragon. She's sent to be with this dragon, and they actually have a really adorable romance. It's super steamy, and also our dragon in this book is a total cinnamon roll, and I adore this book. I'm also obsessed with this cover. It has been the background picture on my phone for like a long time. I really loved this book. So I'm very excited to read The Kraken's Sacrifice. This is the second book in the series, the same kind of synopsis. This girl who signed up to be auctioned off to a monster, and she is obviously getting with a kraken. And I'm in love with the covers for this series, and I love Katie Robert. I love monster romances. I don't know much else about this. These books are quite short. They're like novellas length, more like they're all under 200 pages. And so I am looking forward to picking this one up. I might try to fit it into my November TBR. We shall see. Finally, I'm going to talk about these 2 books together as well, and that's Fortuna Sworn and Reckless Slumber. These are the first 2 books in the Fortuna Sworn series by KG Sutton. I have read both of these books already. I'm looking forward to continuing on in the series. There's already, I think there's 4 books out right now. I think it's going to be eventually 7 books, but I'm not positive. But this is about Fortuna. This series starts out basically with Fortuna, whose brother has gone missing, and she wants to find him. She is a nightmare, and that means that basically everyone sees her differently. Like, she looks like the perfect woman to people, but then she can like basically get close to them, and when she touches them, she can force nightmares upon them. She can know their worst fears, and then she can make them live out their worst nightmares. She ends up making a deal to marry the king of the Unseelie court, the Unseelie Fae court, because he tells her that he knows where her brother is, and he will only tell her if she marries him. And that's where the series starts out, and it goes from there, and things get crazy. This is a really good series. I really like it. I think I've given both of the books in the series 4 stars so far and really enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to picking up the 3rd book. This is a dark fantasy romance, so especially check out trigger warnings for it because things get quite dark, especially at the end of the 2nd book. Okay, so that is all. That is all of the 28 books that I have acquired recently. I'm very excited for this readathon coming up, and I hope you guys join me in Once Upon a Readathon. If you like this video, please go ahead and click the like button. Make sure to comment down below and let me know what your most recently acquired book was. And if you have not already subscribed, please subscribe to my channel. I would love to have you come back for more content. You can click the notification bell if you want to be notified every time I post new videos. All of my social media is linked down below, including my Goodreads, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. Until next time, fellow readers, keep reading and living your best life. But I've known you too long, it hurts to watch your blue eyes fade to gray as you fade away.